advice from. Because if a person gets from the tzaddikim, so when he sighs and he has something missing in his life, he connects to the tzaddikim and they fulfill his lack. They fulfill and fill up the missing piece in his life by giving him proper advice. But then we said that a person is connecting to Rishaim. If you're not connecting, you're always going to learn. If you're not learning from the tzaddikim, you're going to learn from the other side. There's also Rav de Klipa. There's also either bad leaders. There's people who are influential, but they don't represent Torah, and you can learn from people in the street, or you can even have a higher version. You could have Erev Rav. Erev Rav is Jewish people who are really from the spiritual aspect. They're false leaders. They're leaders who look like they're righteous and they look like they know what they're talking about, but they really don't. So therefore, that's also a concept of Rab de Klipa. A person gets advice from any of these type of people, then this is going to go and give him success temporarily, he says, but at the end of the day, it's going to go and not be lasting. He says, those Rishaim, they get ruach tumah, they have a spirit of impurity, and they're going to what? Ruach shelahem gadol v'takif lefi sha'ah. But they're only going to be temporarily mighty, but in the end, the Tikkun Zohar says they're going to disappear, it's going to go away, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to bring the judgment that they all deserve. So therefore, a person has to be careful not to connect to them, rather connect to the tzaddikim. So he says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us in Masechet Brachot, the Chachamim tells us in Masechet Brachot, that a person should not always fight the Rishaim. Right? Sometimes the Rishaim, they have a lot of tzlacha in this world, and sometimes you may get damage from them. So therefore a person, the Gemara gives a bunch of different answers. Either you have to be tzaddik gamur, or you have to be fighting about heavenly matters, not about personal matters. So you see that it's not so simple to go and fight them, because they do have tzlacha in this world, even though seemingly they don't deserve it. So he says, why we have lack, why do we have stuff missing in our life? He says, you should know, a person should know, a person, whenever you're suffering, you should know it's because of a sin. He says, the Gemara Sechet Shabbat says in Nun Hey Mud Aleph 55a, En mita belo het, ve'en yisurim belo avon. There's no such thing as suffering without a sin, and there's no such thing as dying without a transgression. So you see that if a person has something missing in his life, it's very easy for a person to hold something against Hashem, but you have to know that it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu did it for you to give you a kapara and to give you a chesed. And a person has to realize, I did something wrong, and not HaKadosh Baruch Hu. A lot of times we judge Hashem, but we have to give benefit of the doubt to Hashem. If you're in a court case, you versus Hashem, Hashem, you did me wrong. You know who most likely is wrong? Who's going to win this court case? Hashem. Hashem did right and we did wrong. It's hard to swallow a lot of times, but you have to realize HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He did right and we did wrong. And that's what it means. There's no suffering without a sin that we did beforehand. It's therefore, how does it help to go to the tzaddik? So when you go to the tzaddik, mamshich ruach hayim meshlim haisaron mechaper avon. The tzaddik has the ability to get the kapara for you and to give you advice, and that will give you back whatever you're missing in your life. You have a lack, you need a parnasa, you need a refuah, you need to have children, you need to have shalom bayit, whatever all these things, you're suffering tremendously. All these things, you should know why is it happening? It's because of some grech, some sin. And therefore, if you go and speak to the tzaddik and get advice from him and listen to him and get ruach hayim for him, so then he's going to go and get you that kapara you need, and that way that lack will go away. You'll get what you need. So he says that what? Then a person has to know that the tzaddik is the person who gives this to you. ממשיך רוח חיים אל החיסרון, כשמתנך עליו משלים אותו. אך נתגרו בשעים אי אפשר. He says a person he sighs and he's missing something in his life and he's trying to get his spirit back, his ruach hayim, he's probably trying to get motivated again, trying to make his life put back together again. He says you should do it by connecting to tzaddik and not trying to fight Rishaim. A lot of times Rishaim can be hurting you, or evil people could doing bad stuff to you. He says you're a person, not everybody is zoche, not everybody has the merit to confront them and to fight them. So therefore a person has to make sure not to try to fight them, rather focus more on going to the good and avoiding the bad. Because a lot of times, even the tzaddikim who want to fight the Rishaim, let's say there's bad people in the community do something, and we want to go tell them off, and we want to go protest them, and want to go tell them doing something wrong, even there we could get damaged. Even there they might win in a court case against us. They might go and take revenge and do something against us, and they'll be successful because that's the way we live in. We live in a world where Hashem allows bad people sometimes to be successful. Hashem made it that Avodah Zarah looks like it's real. Hashem made it that people who have money run the world. Hashem made it that a lot of times people can get deceived and think that other forces run the world, and therefore a person has to know that not necessarily can a person put the Rishaim in their place just because you're right. On paper you could be right, but not always will you be right, Achlis. So therefore he says the person has to make sure to connect to tzaddik. And what makes a person a tzaddik amur? A person that makes a tzaddik amur is this, that he's able to separate from the bad in his life. That means that he worked on himself to make himself as much purified as he can. How does a person make himself purified as purified as he can? He does this by learning Torah and praying. We're going to see that learning Torah, just like when you learn halakha, you push away the opinions that don't matter. So too in your life, you're able to push out things that don't matter and become very pure when you learn Torah and you pray. So therefore, a person has to make sure to become tzaddik amur, to be able to handle their shaim. You have to learn a lot of Torah.